Okay, so if you've ever been there, watching someone you really care about, maybe it's a partner, family member, your adult kid, just spiraling. Addiction, anxiety, mental health, maybe crushing debt. You know that feeling, right?
Oh, yeah, that gut punch.
Yeah.
The immediate, like, visceral need to just leap in, grab them, fix it, rescue them.
It's one of the hardest things, probably. And today, what we're doing in this deep dive is unpacking something really tough, kind of counterintuitive, actually, from our research.
Yeah, it's this idea that our attempts to help, all those well-meaning efforts to rescue the struggling adult in our life, they might actually be the very thing stopping them.
Stopping them from finding their own strength, their own motivation to actually heal.
Exactly. So our mission here is to quickly give you the tools to see that line, that really critical line between genuine support, the kind that actually helps,
Right.
and, well, the kind of enabling that just drags out the suffering.
It's this cruel twist, isn't it? The harder you try to be the hero, run interference for them.
The more likely they are to just sink deeper. So we're looking at a totally different way to support someone. It's grounded not in fear, but in actually believing they can do the work.
Even when everything inside them, and maybe you too, is screaming they're incapable.
Especially then.
Okay, let's dive in. But first, a really critical point, right? This isn't advice for, like, immediate crisis situations.
Absolutely not. That's crucial. The experts are really clear. If someone's in immediate danger, drunk driving, talking suicide, a real crisis moment, you step in. Hard.
Wow.
This let them idea we're exploring, it does not apply when safety is on the line. You take the keys. You call 911 or a helpline. You get them to the ER. Safety is non-negotiable.
Okay, good. So we're focused on the more chronic stuff, the long-term struggle, that pattern of avoidance, maybe lying about drinking or drugs, putting on a brave face when they're actually deeply depressed.
Yes. That's where this rescue trap gets set. And, people who are struggling often feel this immense shame, denial, too.
They feel like a burden, maybe, like they're letting everyone down.
Totally. And that feeling of worthlessness, that's often what stops them from even asking for the help they desperately need.
Which brings us to a really hard truth about healing itself.
Yeah. Dr. Nicola Pera, the holistic psychologist, she talks a lot about how healing is just fundamentally a personal journey. And this is tough to hear, I know, but you cannot want someone's sobriety or their healing or their mental health more than they want it for themselves.
Okay, if that's the core idea, how do we stop the family, the support system, from making that person struggle about them? Because we do, right? We push, we pressure.
And the research shows that pressure just backfires. It creates resistance, your frustration, your need for them to be okay. It actually ramps up their shame. It paralyzes them.
Wow. So jumping in to rescue them from, say, getting fired or facing a consequence.
You're unintentionally sending a message. You're saying, I don't think you're strong enough. I don't think you can handle this. And that just reinforces their deepest fear, that they are defective, that they are incapable.
So they have to get better for them, not for us.
For themselves, for their own life, not just to make the family feel better or less anxious.
Okay, so escaping this rescue trap means really getting clear on what enabling is. And it sounds like it's more than just, handing over cash.
Oh, much more. Enabling is basically justifying or propping up problematic behaviors while telling yourself you're helping. Yes, it's often financial, like giving money to an adult child who just isn't responsible or, covering a partner's gambling debts again.
But it's emotional, too.
Profoundly. Enabling is also about the rescuer trying to manage their own anxiety, their own fear. By trying to control the other person's outcome, you're trying to soothe yourself.
Okay. So covering for a spouse who drank too much by calling their boss, lying about them having the flu.
Exactly. Or constantly making excuses for someone's anger, trying to smooth things over. That's you trying to manage the environment to calm your stress.
And the impact of that.
Well, the reality is pretty stark. When you enable, you remove the pressure cooker. You take away the heat that's needed for change. You think you're making life easier, cushioning the blows.
But you're actually stopping them from growing up, in a way.
You're hindering their independence. You're prolonging the suffering, the debt, the dysfunction. You're kind of tragically making their path to actually getting better much, much harder in the long run.
Okay, this feels like a good place to talk about boundaries. Because supporting a kid versus supporting an adult, That's different, right?
Totally fundamental difference. We have to remember, neurodevelopmentally, the brain isn't really fully cooked until about age 25, give or take.
Right.
Before that, you are responsible for their safety, net emotional, financial, physical. But once we're talking about a capable adult, that whole dynamic has to shift. They become accountable for their own journey, their own healing.
So how does that connect to motivation? If pressure doesn't work, what actually sparks change? You mentioned brain wiring.
Yeah, this is where we look at the brain's basic motivational circuits. Dr. Kay, a cognitive neuroscientist, talks about this a lot. Humans, fundamentally, were wired to move towards what feels easier or more pleasant and avoid what's painful or hard.
Path of least resistance.
Exactly. If you're depressed, staying in bed feels easier than facing the day. If you have an addiction, the substance offers immediate relief from pain, right?
So the brain's always looking for that shortcut.
Always. And that's precisely why struggling is so critical. It's a necessary part of choosing to get better. I heard an addiction specialist say, nobody really commits to getting sober until being drunk or high or whatever it is.
Until that becomes more painful.
More painful in terms of consequences, losing things, emotional agony, than facing the thing they're running from. Whether it's trauma, anxiety, whatever. Same for eating disorders, right? Nobody commits to recovery until the restriction itself becomes more terrifying than dealing with the underlying emotions.
That pain is data.
It's crucial data for the brain. It's what galvanizes the will to change.
I think we need to acknowledge how hard that is for someone who loves them. For a parent, a partner, we're wired to protect. The idea of stepping back and letting them feel pain or consequences feels, well, it feels wrong, like we're failing them.
It can feel like cruelty, like abandonment. But the argument here is that it's actually the highest form of trust. If you keep running in, solving the problem, paying the bill, making the excuse, you remove that essential pain data.
Make it easier to just keep avoiding.
Exactly. They never have to face it. And this is the absolute core of the let them principle. Dr. Robert Waldinger, he leads the Harvard study of adult development.
Yeah, the long-term study.
Right. He stresses, let people learn from life. Don't shield them from the consequences of what they choose.
So letting them face the real fallout, losing the job, getting into debt, maybe even a relationship breaking down because of their actions.
The struggle isn't punishment. It's the engine for change. It's necessary.
And speaking of, cushioning those consequences, the biggest lever we have, usually, and the one that causes the most guilt,
is money, financial support.
Okay. That boundary feels essential, but also maybe the hardest. How do you handle the guilt? Refusing to pay rent feels like you're literally putting them on the street.
It feels absolutely devastating. But here's the key distinction. Unconditional love does not mean unconditional financial support. The research, the experts, they're really clear on this.
Giving money with no strings attached.
Especially when it's clearly subsidizing self-destructive behavior or just chronic avoidance. It breeds huge resentment in you, the giver, and it actively enables their refusal to take responsibility.
So there's the rock bottom for the person struggling, but you're saying there's also a kind of rock bottom for the loved one.
Yeah. That moment you realize, oh my God, by paying their rent or their phone bill or their tuition with no questions asked, I'm actually paying them to avoid doing the hard work.
Then when you hit that point.
The shift is towards conditional support. Your money, your resources, they support the work of recovery, the effort towards change, not the avoidance.
So any financial help comes with clear strings attached, non-negotiable ones.
Exactly.
Can you give some concrete examples? What would that look like?
Sure. It might be, okay, I will absolutely pay for your therapy sessions. But the condition is we have a check-in once a month where you tell me how you feel it's progressing. Not about me, about you.
Okay.
Or, yes, you can continue living here in my house, but the condition is complete sobriety. And yes, that might mean drug testing if that's what's needed for accountability.
What about school?
I'll pay your tuition this semester, but the condition is you maintain at least a 3.0 GPA. The key is the condition has to tie directly to demonstrable effort on their part.
Okay. But what happens when they say no, when they refuse the conditions? This feels like the really agonizing moment, the real test of let them.
This is it. This is the moment where you have to. And it's incredibly painful. Withdraw all financial support that's enabling the status quo.
Like everything. Phone bill.
Yeah.
Rent. Streaming accounts. Groceries.
If they are capable of working and providing for themselves, yes, it feels like the cruelest thing you could possibly do. But the experts argue it's often the only wake-up call that works.
How is that not cruel?
Because by withdrawing that artificial support, you are actually sending the deepest message of belief in them. You're saying, I believe you are capable. I believe you can figure this out. I trust you to find your own way.
There's that story about Chris and his brother, right, that illustrates this.
Yeah, it's powerful. Chris was drowning in debt. His restaurant was failing. He was drinking heavily. He asked his brother for a loan.
And the brother said no.
Flat out refused. It was painful, honest, but ultimately really compassionate. The brother refused to prop up a failing business, refused to rescue Chris financially from his own choices.
And that forced Chris
To hit a true rock bottom.
Huh.
It prevented dragging out the inevitable crash. It forced Chris to finally connect with his own internal drive to change. Now, the brother was still there for him, offered to listen, offered emotional support, compassion.
But no rescue.
No rescue. And that distinction, compassion without rescue, that's so hard to get right.
Okay, so if we stop rescuing, what does real support actually look like? We need to shift from managing the problem.
Creating the environment for healing. That's the move from just let them struggle to the with them approach.
Right. Dr. Luana Marquez, the clinical psychologist, talks about avoidance being the default coping mechanism, doesn't she?
She does. And when we rescue, we basically teach the person it's okay to run away from hard feelings, from anxiety, from pain, which ironically just makes the underlying anxiety worse over time. We have to break that cycle.
So the goal becomes creating a structure, an environment where change is just easier. Especially because, like you said, when someone's really struggling, deep grief, depression, early recovery, they often don't even know what they need.
Or they feel too ashamed, too much like a burden to ask.
So you stop asking that vague question, how can I help?
Right. Because they probably don't know or can't articulate it. Instead, you start initiating tangible support. This is what we call the let me side of this whole thing.
Ah, okay. Let them face consequences. Let me provide environmental support.
Exactly. Think about that example of supporting someone with severe postpartum depression. The family didn't just sit around waiting to be asked.
No, they just showed up.
They created the environment. They acted. Let me means showing up and cleaning the house without being asked. Let me is stocking the fridge with healthy food they don't have to think about.
Doing laundry, dropping off dinner.
Inviting them to go for a walk or to a class and making it easy by picking them up. It's all about reducing the friction, lowering the energy barrier required for them to take a step back towards life.
And maybe the most powerful let me is just the text message.
Oh, definitely. Not the interrogation text, are you okay, what's going on, but the simple, low-pressure check-in.
Like, hey, thinking about you today. No need to text back. Just wanted you to know you're not alone in this.
Yes. It's non-demanding. It just reaffirms connection without adding pressure. It's supportive, not controlling.
And this applies to facing fears too, right?
Yeah.
Encouraging them to confront what they're avoiding.
Absolutely. Support means standing with them as they face the hard thing. Think about the parent with the anxious daughter who used to sleep on the floor. The shift wasn't just stopping the avoidance.
It was validating the feeling first.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm sorry you feel so scared right now.
Exactly. Validate the fear. And then stand by their side while they do the hard thing, walking her back to her own room again and again if needed. Patiently.
So your actions change completely. Instead of screaming, you're too weak for this, let me fix it, your actions using this with them approach say something different.
They become the loudest possible communication. Your actions say, I believe in you, you can do this hard thing, and I will be right here next to you while you face it, but I am not going to do it for you.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this whole deep dive. We've got the let them principle.
Which means you trust them. You empower the adult in your life to handle their own stuff, even the painful consequences. You allow reality to be the teacher.
And then there's the let me principle.
Which is where you focus your energy, providing strategic, practical, environmental support, offering tools, creating conditions that make positive change slightly easier, but never, ever taking over the fundamental work that only they can do.
Because the heartbreaking reason people stay stuck, why they avoid healing, it's because deep down they don't believe they can actually face the pain they're running from.
They feel fundamentally flawed, incapable.
So maybe the greatest, most sustainable support we can offer is letting them borrow our belief in them.
Exactly. Letting them borrow your belief. When someone feels truly accepted, loved, and supported in their capacity to struggle and choose, not rescued from it, it makes it infinitely easier for them to finally access their own strength, their own ability to step back into life.
You get to choose. Are you going to be a temporary rescuer or a steady beacon of hope and belief? So thinking about all this, what really stands out to you? And maybe what's one boundary, one small shift towards let them or let me that you need to start practicing today?